for Be a 4-H Survivor, and today we're going to talk about how to write a resume. And you'll notice that we're not sitting in front of a computer or anything like that. I moved this outside to enjoy the pretty sunshine and to remind y'all to make sure that you get out and exercise and get some vitamin D from the sun, okay? So let's get started with how to write a resume. So when we're writing a resume, the whole purpose of filling out a resume is to share with a potential employer the skills and knowledge and qualities that we bring to the table that would make us a good fit for whatever position we're applying for, okay? So we want our resume to be concise. We want our resume to be accurate. That's the most important part. Don't lie on a resume. And we want it to be professional looking. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So when I look at my resume, the first thing that I'm going to do is at the very top of my page, I'm going to put my name, my full name. So I just wrote Miss Sarah up here today, but if I were doing this, I would put Sarah Orr. I would put my first and my last name right across the top. I would follow that with my address, okay? My address, complete with mailbox number, road, city, state, and zip code, because we want this potential employer to be able to reach us no matter how they choose to reach out to us, okay? So we need our full address. We need our phone number. We need an accurate phone number, including area code. We also need to put an email. We all know that everyone has an email nowadays, but we need to put our email on there as well. We want to take this contact information and we want it to be at the top of the page, centered. That's why I've got these two arrows. We want it centered and we want it bold and slightly larger than the rest of the print on the rest of my resume. Because when that potential employer sees that resume, we want your name to stand out at the top. Now, does it need to take up half the page? Absolutely not. But it needs to stand out, it needs to be bold, and it needs to grab their attention and go, I need to look at this resume more, okay? I always like to put a separator, a line right across there. And you can do that in Word, very simply, because it makes it look more professional and it visually tells that employer, okay, now you know who I am and how to contact me. Now I'm going to tell you my qualifications for this position, okay? We always want to start, excuse me, we always want to start with education first, okay? And I only did an example for education because a lot of the rest of these sections are going to be set up very similar to education. Okay, we want to title that section. We don't want our employer to have to wonder, okay, is this education? Is this employment? Is this an honors and achievement? What is this? So we need to have sections of our resume, and you'll notice I have those: education, employment history, and others that we'll talk about more in a second. But under education, we want to list where we went to school. So if you're a graduating high school senior, you're only going to have high school. We don't need elementary school or middle school because, you know, it's a given that you made it through those if you graduated high school, okay? So we want to list the name of our high school. And you'll notice that I indented some here because once you move on to college and you're applying for a job after college or something along those lines, you're going to have a college degree above this. So there's going to be more than one section under education. But we're going to list our high school name. We're going to tab over past it. We're going to put the city and the state that it was in, because not everybody went to high school at the same place. Not everybody's high school is in the same county or the same town. So we want to make sure that we provide that layer of information, okay? You may bold this. I've put this B right here to bold it, because there's going to be more information that goes under that heading as well. So you may bold it, you may underline it, something to signify that there's more information following that particular line. You'll come down right below it, and we want to write what kind of degree, certificate, diploma, whatever the case may be, did you receive from that institution. So I put that I received a high school diploma with honors. Now, we don't use abbreviations in a resume. I just put HS because I'm running out of room on my board, okay? I like to italicize that. Because when you think forward, if you go on to college and you end up with more than one degree in college and you got it from the same place, you may have multiple headings under here. It's all about making it look concise, okay? We also need to list our GPA, and it's important that we list our GPA because that gives our potential employer an idea of our work ethic and how well we did in school, okay? There are different scales for GPA. So you'll notice I put 4.0 out of 4.0. If I had just put 4.0, that doesn't tell my employer anything. It says, okay, she got a 4.0. Is that out of a 4.0 scale? Is that out of 5.0 scale? Give them a frame of reference. So make sure you put the total that it was out of as well. You also need to put a graduation date, okay? So put your graduation date. They don't need the month, the day, and all of that. Just put a graduation year, okay? So that's kind of the basics for education. Other important sections that we need to make sure we have on a resume are employment history. And we're going to set employment history up the same way that we do education in terms of how it looks under that heading. We're going to have a section that tells that potential employer how long we worked with that company or with that retailer or whoever it is, okay? We're also going to have a short bulleted list of our tasks and our duties and our responsibilities there, okay? Do we need to write down every single thing that we ever did at that job? No. We need to summarize. We need to hit the high points and give them a concise, clear picture of what we did, okay? Same thing goes for extracurricular activities and honors and achievements. Extracurricular activities. In high school, if you played a sport, if you were in 4-H or the FFA or FCCLA or any of those after-school clubs or activities, if you were in band, if you played football, whatever you did in high school, that's where this goes under extracurricular activities. Are you in the choir at church? Whatever you did, that needs to be listed under extracurricular activities, okay? Honors and achievements. Were you the president of the FFA? Were you the president of your 4-H honor club? Were you quarterback for the football team? Whatever achievement and honor that you had, it needs to go under honors and achievements. And let me back up one step. Any volunteering that you've done, volunteer service hours and that kind of thing, that needs to go in this area as well. Depending upon what it is, it may go under extracurricular activities, it may go under honors and achievements, okay? Again, we want to keep this informative, concise, and give our potential employer a clear picture of who we are as a person and why we are the right person for that particular job. And part of that comes from the references section, okay? So every resume needs to have some references. Do you need to list everybody that you know as a reference? Absolutely not. No more than 4 total. No less than 2, okay? Those references need to be people who know you and can speak to your abilities and why you would be a good fit for whatever job you're applying for. Those references need to be approached and asked if they are willing to be a reference. You do not want to put someone down as a reference on your resume and not tell them, because if you do that and they get a phone call, the first words out of their mouth might be, well, I have no idea. That doesn't paint a good picture of you. So always ask if they are willing to be a reference before you put them down on a resume and send that information out. Who makes a good reference? Maybe it's your 4-H agent, maybe it's your FFA advisor, maybe it's your football coach, maybe it's your pastor at church, maybe it's someone who you used to work for, whether that was an official position or a volunteer position, whatever the case may be. Who makes a not so good reference? Mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, okay? Your references do not need to be related to you because that introduces bias. So your reference needs to be somebody not in your family who can speak to your achievements, and they need to be asked before you put them on your resume. Now, that gives some basics, but I also have one more little thing that I want to go over for our resumes. And these are just some tips that I use when I'm filling out a resume for myself or when I'm helping other people write resumes. These are some tips that I always go by, and it seems to work out pretty well. I don't suggest that you write an executive summary or a personal statement at the top of your resume. First of all, this takes up space. Second of all, if you've done a good job writing and filling out your resume and making sure your sections under your resume are informative and concise, you don't need this, okay? And chances are, with most positions on down the road, you're going to have to write a cover letter. Everything that you're going to put in an executive summary is going to be in a cover letter. So, I say don't write an executive summary. There may be positions out there that request an executive summary, and that's going to depend on the position that you're applying for or what college you're attending and that kind of thing. So, there are exceptions to the rule, but in general, no executive summary. When we're listing information under our sections, you know, if it's education, if it's employment history, whatever it is, we want to always list the most recent thing that we did first, okay? So in my case, if I were filling out a resume for myself today, under education, my college education would be listed first, my high school education would be listed second, okay? Same thing with employment history. You want to start from where you are right now and work backwards under those sections, okay? Always use bullet points. Always use bullet points. Don't write complete sentences, don't write paragraphs, and don't use abbreviations, okay? Use bullet points that start with action verbs. So when you're listing the tasks that you were responsible for under your employment history, under a given job, use action verbs. Don't say, kept tabs on inventory. Say something like, managed inventory for, you know, make sure you say something that is an action verb. You did it, you managed it, you coordinated it. Okay, because that makes you sound like a doer and that you've got good work ethic. Your resume doesn't need to be any more than 2 pages. You know, when you are graduating high school or graduating college, you don't have a ton of work history yet. You don't have big sections under education yet, so we want to make sure that we keep our resume to 2 pages and that we're only providing stuff relevant to that position, okay? When you're doing this, use large black font, okay? At least a size 12 font. Make sure you're typing in black. Even your name at the top, I know we said we wanted to make it pop and to make it stand out, it still needs to be black, okay? No blue, no funny colors, no funny colored paper, anything like that. We need black font on white paper because we want to look professional. I suggest using Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri font because they're easy to read. No Comic Sans, no funny swirly type fonts because we want this to be legible and easy to read. Make sure that you use bold, italics, and underline to your advantage. Make the important sections stand out, okay? And then I always like to put a border around the page because it just makes it look more polished and it makes it look more professional. And these are my tips when it comes to writing a resume. I am always here for you all. If any of my 4-Hers want me to look over their resume and edit it, I will be happy to do so because I want to help you succeed. Hopefully this has been an informative session and you can use it to become a 4-H survivor. Bye guys.